Good evening. It's Friday, June 26th, 7:32 p.m. Here's today's update. Start off with worldometers. Had another record-breaking day. Not a good thing. USA broke its record with 47,000 new cases, something that it's never done before. They're already surpassed Brazil, who we thought would become the worst, but it's an ongoing trend. Got to see what happens next. Within USA, check state by state. We got Florida at the top with a surprising almost 9,000 new cases. That's very alerting. No state had ever come near that amount. California second, Texas third, Arizona, and we have Georgia and the rest. So things continue to escalate and escalate. So brace yourselves for what's gonna come. The charts do show that there are less deaths, but you got to keep in mind the daily cases going up, daily deaths going down. Stopped, now kind of staggered. Now keep in mind, the reason why it went down so much is because we're getting majority young people getting infected. A lot of young people it's being reported in the news that a lot of young people are the ones mostly getting infected, and that's why, because they wanted to go to parties, bars, other get-togethers. Now for some news. A lot of good news today. We have there's a gay pride event in France going on with a possible 1 million in attendance. That won't happen, but people are still going to show up. Let's see. In Spain, God said infected migrants from the U.S. Again, I talked about how this happened in Guatemala and Costa Rica and Haiti. So here's another example of countries irresponsibly sending and receiving infected migrants. WWE wrestler who tweeted she got the virus twice deleted her account after harassment. Now this one was interesting. So she pointed out in the tweet how she got sick, she got better, and she got sick again. And one of the things that we've seen a lot is people who have gotten better and then get sick again. Some get better, leave the hospital, and then die from it. And she was met with a lot of backlash about it because obviously she has a huge following. So it's probably a lot of people that probably like virus deniers and people with agendas that probably didn't like what she was saying, and she ended up getting harassed to the point where she had to delete her account. CDC said today that millions of people may have had coronavirus in the past without knowing it. That's because the virus, for many, they are asymptomatic. And some stay asymptomatic for a long time, but they're still spreading it, which makes the virus very dangerous. Because at least, like I always said, at least with SARS, you would show symptoms, and that's when you would be contagious. But with this virus, you can be fine, look perfectly healthy, and be passing it on to some other people, endangering their lives in the process. Davis Dennis Cup canceled. News from today. Parties inside Madrid skyrocket 1,220% last month. So you can already tell where this is going to go in a couple of weeks. Report on deadly COVID-19 outbreak at Holyoke Soldiers Home. Gut-wrenching. The first independent investigation into the deadly coronavirus outbreak at a state-run nursing home for veterans in western Massachusetts was released this week. Since the outbreak began in mid-March, at least 76 veterans in the 247-bed home have died from COVID-19, while another 80 veterans and 84 employees contracted the virus. It is one of the deadliest examples of how the coronavirus has devastated long-term care facilities during the pandemic. That's harsh. 76 out of the 247 are dead, and I'm pretty sure there are still active cases and critical cases. Under Wash's watch, the home made several utterly baffling decisions, instigators wrote. The most alarming example was the decision on March 27 to combine 2 floors of residence, a move that wound up mixing veterans who had the virus with those who did not. One employee who participated in the move said she felt like she was walking the veterans to their deaths. 3 days later, When news broke about the crisis in the home, Walsh was put on paid administrative leave. He was fired next week. Walsh's attorney said his client disagrees with how he was characterizing the report and reviewing his legal options. The state also fired Veteran Services Secretary Urania this week. According to the report, Urania had serious concerns about Walsh's capabilities, but failed to provide adequate oversight. So these people are, utterly baffling decision. If anything, they should be charged with death. Well, from today, Newsom, from the governor of California, had a press conference today. He said the rising cases is in part from opening early and the protests. Again, we're seeing even more and more news now pointing at the protests. I understand the cause, but there's the risk of infection, obviously. Newsom made it clear Disneyland is not going to open. That was pretty obvious. Beds and patient in ICU going up. They're not near, the devastating numbers you see in Arizona or the about to chaotically unfold, situation in Texas, but they're getting there. He begs young people to stop getting infected and killing their parents. He didn't outright say it, but he implied it. Yeah, he was begging young people today to just stay indoors. They don't want to do it. Some people within Dodgers organization test positive for coronavirus. Los Angeles. Dodger president of baseball operations Andrew Freeman said Thursday that members of the organization had tested positive for the coronavirus. We have had some people in our organization test positive, none that have resulted in symptoms that have been problematic, Freeman said. Freeman didn't specify whether the positive tests were of players, coaches, or other team employees, and said he wasn't yet sure if it would affect anyone's readiness for spring training. This is very much a personal thing that for anyone to share. It's up to them. From my standpoint and Dave Roberts' standpoint, we're not comfortable doing that, Freeman said. We want to err on the side of being thoughtful to the people involved. Sounds like a cover-up to me. It's possible that the people within the Dodgers team are infected. They don't want to say. It's all about transparency. Bring back the case in Yemen where the officials didn't want to post the numbers because of the psychological effect on the people. Like, no, you have to show the numbers. No, it's obvious. California Governor Newsom just ended the press briefing. Overall, he wants to pause the reopening, just like Texas, as California just passes 200,000 cases. Government Gavin Newsom said Friday that he wants an agriculture or Southern California county to reimpose stay-at-home orders amid a surge in positive coronavirus tests there and through much of the state. Imperial County, with a population of 175,000 people in the state's border with Mexico, has been the slowest in the state to reopen amid continued high positivity rates, which have averaged 23% in the last week compared to the 5.7 nationwide. Remember I talked about Imperial County? It's no surprise they're going to end up bringing it up like that. Newsom also said the statewide there were increases in the percentage of people hospitalized and in ICUs, he said. San Francisco announced it was temporarily delaying plans to reopen barbershops, tattoo parlors, outdoor bars, and nail salons on Monday. So California is going back into lockdown slowly because the people didn't want to listen. Now the world is laughing at them. Or the country in general. CBS Los Angeles, man drops dead in the metro, interrupting service. This happened today in LA. The guy just dropped dead. So it's possible that it might have been somebody who had COVID. I doubt we'll get an update on this case. It barely got any attention at all. But it was very strange something like that happened, especially around this time. And we know that the virus can give people death strokes once the virus gets into the brain. New study finds troubling signs of brain complications in severe COVID-19 cases. The study, published in the Lancet Psychiatry Journal, looked at 153 patients who were hospitalized with severe cases of the disease and found that 125 of them experienced a range of neurological and psychiatric complications that may be linked to the coronavirus. So I've talked about this before a lot. The mainstream media is barely catching up. That the virus ultimately has the goal of getting to your brain, and that's when it starts doing a lot of fun things. The patient survived, but they survived with residual effects of having had the nervous system affected by this virus, Dr. Bob Lahita told CBSN anchors Vladimir Duchers and Anne-Marie Green on Friday. The most commonly reported complication was stroke. I was just talking about this, occurring in 62% of the patients. Of the 77 reported stroke cases in the study, 57 were caused by a blood clot in the brain. 9 were caused by a brain hemorrhage, and 1 patient's stroke was caused by inflammation in the blood vessels of the brain. The majority of the strokes occurred in patients aged 60 or older. About a third of patients in the study experienced an altered mental state, such as brain inflammation, psychosis, and dementia-like symptoms, including signs of confusion or changes in behavior. Altered mental status is common in patients admitted to hospital with severe infection, the study notes, but adds that the researchers observed a disproportionate number of neuropsychiatric presentations in younger patients. With regards to age, it is clear that people who are older are not going to do as well as people who are younger, Lahita said, but some younger people develop severe illness as well. We simply don't know. There's a don't know again, because it's a novel virus. We simply don't know who will be infected that will die, he said, and we in the scientific community believe it has to do with immunogenetics. That means your inheritance of a certain kind of immune system which may make you susceptible to really doing badly once you're infected. It's interesting because I hadn't heard about immunogenetics. Parents turning to homeschooling out of fears of COVID-19. I mean, this was expected. We know that this virus can kill anybody regardless of age. Why or why not? We don't know yet. But obviously, people don't want their kids to go to school because in China we had a story of a child who dropped dead in the school, and we've already had cases all over the world of school outbreaks, teachers dying, and so people are turning to homeschooling. I mean, you gotta do what you have to do to stay safe. Texas. Authorities in Lakeway say teen who later tested positive for COVID-19 attended a Pong party that had 300 people. I mean, doing this during a pandemic, like, it's just, it's hard to pity these people. Kansas. Several attendees at a Lawrence bar reported testing positive for COVID-19. The Lawrence Douglas public health officials say patrons who attended the Hawk on June 19 through 20 are asked to monitor symptoms for COVID-19, as several who have tested positive report being present at the bar. We'd ask anyone who was there last weekend to monitor for potential COVID-19 symptoms. We believe the source of exposure for some of these cases occurred before they visited the Hawk, but we could consider them contagious during this time frame, says Informatics Director Sanaya Jordan. We are not confident in being able to identify everyone who was there and might have come in close contact with people who were contagious, so we have released this information. Jordan says on Friday the Hawk was confirmed as the site of an outbreak due to 2 or more cases being identified with the same source of exposure. And you just hear these stories over and over and over again. Incredible. San Francisco delays plan to reopen more businesses due to surge in COVID-19 cases. A spike in coronavirus cases has forced San Francisco Mayor London Breed to delay the city's plan to reopen more businesses. Breed announced the decision Friday, adding San Francisco, like the state, is seeing COVID-19 cases rising rapidly. San Francisco planned on allowing hair salons and barbershops, nail salons, tattoo salons, museums, zoos, outdoor bars, and outdoor swimming to reopen starting Monday. No word on a new target date on when the businesses will get the green light to reopen. So Donald Trump was already saying that if the country were to need to shut down again, he wouldn't do it. But the governors they made it be known that they don't care really what he says. They're gonna have to go against it. And Mike Pence went on today in the task force meeting and said that the U.S. is doing a great job and that the virus is being controlled. What a liar that Mike Pence is. Somebody needs to smack that man. All right. COVID-19 continues to help kill and hospitalize Utahns in an unexpected and collateral way in car crashes. During a monthly update about highway fatalities, The Utah Transportation Commission was told Friday that traffic volume and crashes may have been way down because of COVID-19 restrictions keeping more people home, but deaths and serious injuries are up anyway. White adds that the problem has surfaced nationwide, and a study in Minnesota showed that the number of speeders who exceed limits by at least 20 miles per hour has doubled during recent months amid COVID-19 restrictions. Now, the virus is affecting people's brains, and it's causing them to act certain ways, and people are dropping on the floor, going unconscious because of this virus. What does that mean for people who operate vehicles? You know? Pennsylvania. The Allegheny County Health Department has released additional information on the 244 new COVID-19 cases reported in the past week, saying the cases were overwhelmingly among younger people who were traveling, visiting bars and restaurants, and out in the community. Officials said the new cases range in age from 4 months to 97 years old, with a median age of 31 years old. The health department said 2/3 of the new cases are among those aged 19 to 49 years old. Some of the new cases include staff at local bars and restaurants. Officials said that of the 15 different bars and restaurants new cases reported recently visiting are working at, five facilities were reported multiple times. And so it's just to just talk about how, again, when we looked at worldometers, we saw the deaths kind of go down for a bit. They're going back up already. But when they went down, it was because during that time, it's been mostly young people getting affected. The virus takes longer to get to them. Now, some of them, it hits them quick. But we still don't know why the virus behaves this way. We still do not know this. Where was I? The health department said the food safety program has been in contact with restaurants where employees have tested positive and where there have been complaints about people not wearing masks. There were a lot of bars and restaurants that have just not been following their social distancing rules. A lot of them getting caught, but a lot of them are not being punished. I might have read that somewhere else. Officials said small numbers of new cases have also reported going to church, family get-togethers, their kids' games or activities, and protests. Another mention of the protests, because it's been a while already. And the whole church thing, I've already touched upon that, how no, the blood of Jesus is not going to protect you. Like that one priest says, COVID-19, he's like, I execute judgment against you, COVID-19. No, it won't protect you. Like I said before, during the Black Plague, people went to the churches, and they all die in the churches, and that can happen again if they don't stop behaving this way. Pregnant woman dies of COVID-19. Doctors managed to save the baby. A pregnant woman from Baton Rouge passed away Thursday due to complications from COVID-19. But doctors at Women's Hospital successfully delivered her baby, according to local news station WBRZ. Family told WBRZ that the mother, Ali Guidry, was hospitalized with the novel coronavirus at the end of May. She was placed on a ventilator, but her condition was not improving. Ali, 29, was not due to give birth until October. According a GoFundMe page started for the family to help with medical bills and funeral expenses. Doctors had to do an emergency C-section and were able to deliver the 2-pound baby at just 25 weeks. LA County health officials are warning about fake images of a face mask exempt card that are circulating online. Florida, 214 Jacksonville firefighters self-quarantine. 14 test positive for COVID-19. COVID-19 in Arizona. Clubs close after citations. Push on Ducey's call-out of bad actors. Several Scottsdale bars and restaurants labeled bad actors by Governor Doug Ducey have shut down temporarily, and they're pushing back on his allegations that they disregarded the safety protocols meant to curb the spread of COVID-19. So these are all things that were reported today. Just a compilation of what I saw. And it just shows you that it's getting hot. It's gonna be a hot time in Hot Town. So buckle up.